The alien woman was shocked when a human got her pregnant on the first try. Dr. Zara Velthani adjusted her silver robes as she walked through the gleaming corridors of the Galactic Research Station Omega-7. Her elongated fingers, each ending in delicate crystalline nails, traced the data pad she carried with growing frustration. The Velthari were known throughout the galaxy for their scientific prowess and their unfortunate reproductive challenges. For centuries, her species had struggled with declining birth rates, requiring complex medical procedures and multiple attempts for successful conception. The research station buzzed with activity as representatives from dozens of species worked together on various projects. Zara had been assigned to study human reproductive biology as part of a cross-species fertility initiative. The humans were relatively new to the galactic community, having joined only 50 standard years ago, but they had quickly gained a reputation for being surprisingly adaptable and resourceful. She paused outside Laboratory 7, where her human research partner was supposed to meet her. Dr. Marcus Chen had been working with her for 3 months now, and she found his approach to science refreshingly direct compared to the elaborate protocols her own people favored. Where Velthari scientists would spend weeks planning a single experiment, Marcus would simply say, "Let's try it and see what happens." The door slid open with a soft hiss, and Marcus looked up from his workstation. His dark hair was slightly disheveled, and he wore the casual clothing that humans seemed to prefer over formal scientific robes. Zara had initially found this unprofessional, but she had grown accustomed to human quirks. "Morning, Zara," Marcus said with that easy smile humans were known for. "I've been reviewing the fertility data from the Velthari medical archives you sent me. Fascinating stuff, but I think I see some patterns your doctors might have missed." Zara's violet eyes widened slightly. The Velthari medical establishment had been studying their own reproductive challenges for generations. The idea that a human could spot something they had missed seemed unlikely, yet Marcus had surprised her before with his insights. "What patterns?" she asked, moving to stand beside him at the holographic display. Marcus gestured to the swirling data visualization. "Your people's reproductive cycle is incredibly complex. Your doctors treat each variable as separate. But look at this." He manipulated the display, highlighting certain genetic markers. "These factors aren't independent. They're part of an interconnected system that responds to environmental stress." Zara studied the data with growing interest. The Velthari approach had always been to optimize each factor individually, but Marcus was suggesting they had been looking at the problem entirely wrong. "Humans have a much simpler reproductive system," Marcus continued. "We evolved on a world where adaptability was more important than perfection. Our bodies are designed to make reproduction work under almost any conditions." "That seems inefficient," Zara said, though she was beginning to understand his point. "Maybe, but it's effective. Your people evolved on a stable world with predictable conditions. Your reproductive system is incredibly sophisticated, but it requires everything to be just right. When you moved to space stations and different planets, those conditions changed, but your medical establishment kept trying to force the old parameters." Zara felt a flutter of excitement as the implications became clear. "You're suggesting that our fertility problems aren't medical defects, but environmental adaptations that we've been trying to suppress." "Exactly. Your bodies are trying to adapt to new conditions, but your treatments keep forcing them back to the old patterns." Over the following weeks, Marcus and Zara worked closely together, developing new theories about cross-species reproduction. Their research partnership evolved into something deeper as they spent long hours discussing not just science, but their different cultures and experiences. Zara found herself fascinated by human directness and emotional openness. Where Velthari relationships were formal and carefully arranged through genetic compatibility testing, humans seemed to form bonds based on personal connection and shared experiences. Marcus, meanwhile, was intrigued by Velthari philosophical depth and their ability to see complex patterns in seemingly unrelated data. Their breakthrough came during a late-night research session when they were discussing the emotional components of reproduction. Humans, Marcus explained, had strong psychological elements tied to their fertility. Stress, happiness, and emotional connection all played roles in successful reproduction. The Velthari medical approach ignores emotional factors completely, Zara realized. We treat reproduction as a purely biological process. That might be why your treatments aren't working, Marcus said. You're trying to optimize the biology while ignoring half the equation. As they worked together, Zara began to experience emotions she had never felt before. The Velthari were not an emotionless species, but their feelings were typically subtle and controlled. The intensity of what she felt around Marcus was unprecedented in her experience. Marcus, for his part, found himself drawn to Zara's brilliant mind and her unique perspective on the universe. Her tall, graceful form and the way her large eyes seemed to see everything made her unlike anyone he had ever known. Their relationship shifted one evening when they were working alone in the lab. A power fluctuation had shut down most of the station's systems, leaving them with only emergency lighting. In the dim, blue-tinged illumination, Zara's crystalline features seemed to glow softly. "Marcus," she said quietly, "I need to tell you something. The research we're doing, it's not just academic for me. My family has been pressuring me to undergo fertility treatments. In Velthari society, a scientist who cannot contribute to the next generation is considered incomplete." Marcus moved closer to her. "That's a lot of pressure. I've been tested repeatedly. The doctors say my reproductive system is particularly challenging, even by Velthari standards. They estimate it would take dozens of attempts with their most advanced treatments." "I'm sorry, Zara. That must be incredibly difficult." She looked at him with those large, expressive eyes. "Your research has given me hope that there might be other approaches. But more than that, working with you has made me question everything I thought I knew about connection and compatibility." Marcus reached out and gently took her hand. The touch sent an unexpected surge of warmth through both of them. Velthari's skin was slightly cooler than human skin, but incredibly soft, while human touch felt warm and energizing to Zara. "Zara," Marcus said softly, "I care about you. Not just as a research partner, but as a person. I know our species are different. But what we have feels real to me." "It feels real to me, too," she whispered. "But the differences between our species... Our research shows that differences aren't always obstacles. Sometimes they're exactly what's needed." Their first kiss was tentative, both aware they were crossing boundaries that their respective societies might not understand. But as their relationship deepened over the following days, they found that their physical and emotional compatibility was extraordinary. Unlike the complex compatibility protocols required for Velthari relationships, their connection felt natural and effortless. Marcus's straightforward human emotional honesty balanced perfectly with Zara's analytical Velthari wisdom. When they finally became intimate, it was with a combination of scientific curiosity and genuine affection that neither had expected. The experience was profound for both of them, representing not just physical connection, but a bridge between two very different approaches to life and love. Weeks passed, and their relationship continued to develop alongside their research. They were making significant progress on new fertility treatments that incorporated both biological and emotional factors when Zara began experiencing unusual symptoms. At first, she attributed the fatigue and slight nausea to stress from their intensive research schedule. But when the symptoms persisted, she decided to run some medical scans as a precaution. The results left her staring at her medical scanner in complete disbelief. According to every test she ran, she was pregnant. Not only pregnant, but the fetal development was proceeding at an optimal rate that Velthari medical science considered theoretically possible, but practically impossible without extensive intervention. The implications hit her like a plasma bolt. She and Marcus had conceived. Marcus felt his heart skip a beat at Zara's serious tone. He had never seen her look so overwhelmed, and given her typically composed Velthari demeanor, whatever had happened must have been significant. "What is it?" he asked, moving to sit beside her. Zara gestured to the medical display with a trembling hand. "I ran routine health scans this morning because I wasn't feeling well. Marcus, I'm pregnant." The words hit Marcus like a physical blow. He stared at the display, seeing the unmistakable signs of early fetal development. His mind struggled to process what this meant. That's impossible," he said finally. "Your doctor said it would take dozens of attempts, even with your own species." "I know what they said," Zara replied, her voice barely above a whisper. "I've run the tests 4 times. The results are consistent. Not only am I pregnant, but the development is proceeding perfectly. Better than perfectly, actually. The fetal growth rates are optimal by Velthari standards." Marcus ran his hands through his hair, trying to organize his thoughts. "This proves everything we theorized about emotional compatibility and environmental factors. Zara, we've just demonstrated that cross-species reproduction isn't just possible. It might actually be more successful than same-species reproduction under the right conditions." "The scientific implications are staggering," Zara agreed. "But Marcus, what about us? What about the baby? Neither of our species has any experience with hybrid offspring. We don't know what to expect, what challenges we might face." Marcus took her hands in his, feeling the slight tremor in her fingers. "We'll figure it out together. We're scientists, Zara. We solve impossible problems for a living." Over the next few days, they threw themselves into researching everything they could find about cross-species genetics and hybrid development. What they discovered was both encouraging and concerning. The galactic databases contained scattered reports of successful cross-species reproduction, but most involved species that were already closely related. Humans and Velthari were genetically quite different, making their successful conception even more remarkable. However, they also found concerning gaps in the data. Most hybrid offspring seemed to develop normally, but there were so few cases that long-term outcomes were largely unknown. "We're venturing into completely uncharted territory," Zara said one evening as they reviewed their research in her quarters. The space was decorated in typical Velthari style, with flowing organic shapes and soft, ambient lighting. "Maybe that's exactly what's needed," Marcus replied. "Both our species have been approaching reproduction as if there was only one right way to do it. What if diversity is actually an advantage?" As word of their pregnancy began to spread through the scientific community, reactions were mixed. Some colleagues were fascinated by the implications for reproductive science. Others were concerned about the unknown risks to both mother and child. Dr. Yalix Morvan, the Velthari head of xenobiology, summoned Zara to his office within a week of their announcement. The elderly Velthari's crystalline features were set in an expression of deep concern. "Dr. Velthani, I must express my grave reservations about this development," he said, his formal tone making clear his disapproval. "The Velthari Medical Council has strict protocols regarding unauthorized genetic experimentation." "With respect, sir, this wasn't experimentation. It was an unexpected outcome of our research. Nevertheless, you are carrying what amounts to an untested hybrid organism. The risks to your health and to our species' genetic integrity are unknown." Zara felt a flash of anger that would have been impossible for her to express before her relationship with Marcus had taught her to embrace her emotions more fully. "The child I'm carrying is not an organism or an experiment, and our preliminary research suggests that genetic diversity might be beneficial, not harmful." Dr. Morvan's expression remained stern. "The Medical Council is prepared to offer you the most advanced termination procedures available. This unfortunate situation can be resolved with minimal impact to your career. Absolutely not, Zara said firmly. This pregnancy represents the most significant breakthrough in reproductive science in centuries. I have no intention of terminating it. Meanwhile, Marcus was facing his own challenges from the human contingent on the station. Commander Sarah Torres, the senior human representative, called him to her office for what she termed a frank discussion. Dr. Chen, I need to understand what you were thinking, she said, her military bearing making her disapproval clear. We've worked hard to establish respectful relationships with our galactic neighbors. This situation could be seen as inappropriate conduct. With respect, Commander, my relationship with Dr. Velthani is personal and consensual. We're both adults who made informed decisions. But did you consider the diplomatic implications? The Velthari are a proud species with strong cultural traditions. Some might see this as humans overstepping boundaries. Marcus felt his temper rising. A very human response that he decided not to suppress. What I see is two people who care about each other making a life together. If that threatens diplomacy, maybe the problem isn't with us. Despite the official disapproval from both their species, Marcus and Zara found support from unexpected sources. Dr. Kethril, an elderly Velthari geneticist who had been studying reproductive challenges for decades, approached them with excitement rather than concern. Your pregnancy represents hope, she told them during a private meeting. Our species has been so focused on maintaining genetic purity that we may have been limiting our own evolutionary potential. Your child could represent a new direction for both our peoples. Human Dr. Lisa Park, a specialist in xenobiology, echoed similar sentiments. From a purely scientific standpoint, this is the most significant development in cross-species biology I've seen in my career. The fact that conception occurred naturally suggests compatibility mechanisms we didn't know existed. As Zara's pregnancy progressed, they documented everything meticulously. The development was proceeding remarkably smoothly, with the fetus showing characteristics of both species. Advanced scanning revealed that the baby was adapting features from both parents in unexpected ways. Look at this, Zara said, pointing to the latest scan results. The neural development is following Velthari patterns, but the cardiovascular system is more human-like. It's as if the baby is selecting the optimal characteristics from each species. That suggests an intelligence in the developmental process that we never imagined, Marcus replied. This isn't just random genetic combination. The fetus is actively choosing which traits to express. Their research during this period revolutionized understanding of reproductive biology across multiple species. They published papers on emotional factors in fertility, environmental adaptation in reproductive systems, and the potential benefits of genetic diversity that challenged centuries of established medical practice. But the personal challenges continued to mount. Zara experienced morning sickness that was more intense than typical Velthari pregnancies, but less severe than human ones, suggesting their child was already bridging the differences between their species. More concerning were the social pressures. A faction of Velthari traditionalists began circulating petitions calling for their research to be terminated and for Zara to be expelled from the scientific community. Similarly, some humans worried about the precedent their relationship might set for future human-alien interactions. The stress began to take its toll on both of them. Zara, despite her typically controlled Velthari demeanor, found herself experiencing the emotional intensity that came with human-influenced hormonal changes. Marcus struggled with the weight of responsibility, knowing that their child would face challenges neither of them had ever experienced. Their breakthrough came when they realized they didn't have to face these challenges alone. Dr. Kethril and Dr. Park approached them with a proposal: form a multi-species research team dedicated to studying their pregnancy and its implications. What you're experiencing is too important to be faced in isolation, Dr. Kethril explained. We need to document everything, not just for science, but to help other couples who might follow your path. Within weeks, they had assembled a team of specialists from 6 different species, all united in their fascination with the implications of successful cross-species reproduction. The Research Station Administration, recognizing the potential significance of their work, granted them dedicated laboratory space and resources. The team's research revealed that Marcus and Zara's success wasn't just a miraculous accident. Humans, it turned out, had evolved reproductive systems that were remarkably adaptable, designed to function under a wide variety of conditions. This adaptability, combined with the sophisticated Velthari genetic expression systems, had created an optimal environment for cross-species conception. Humans are what we might call universal adapters. Dr. Parkas Zara entered her 3rd trimester. The excitement throughout the research station was palpable. Their multi-species research team had grown to include representatives from 12 different civilizations, all eager to understand the implications of successful human Velthari reproduction. The baby's development continued to astound everyone involved. Advanced scanning revealed a level of hybrid vigor that exceeded even the most optimistic projections. The child was developing enhanced sensory capabilities that combined human adaptability with Velthari precision, along with neural pathways that seemed designed for processing multiple types of information simultaneously. "This is unprecedented," Dr. Kethril announced during one of their weekly team meetings. "The fetus is not just surviving the combination of 2 different genetic templates, it's optimizing them. We're seeing the emergence of capabilities that neither species possesses individually." Dr. Park nodded enthusiastically. "The brain development patterns suggest enhanced pattern recognition, improved environmental adaptation responses, and what appears to be an intuitive understanding of complex systems. This child may represent a genuine evolutionary leap forward." But their success hadn't gone unnoticed by the broader galactic community. News of the pregnancy had spread beyond the research station, creating ripples of interest and concern across multiple worlds. The Velthari High Council called an emergency session to discuss what they termed genetic contamination protocols. Conservative factions argued that cross-species reproduction threatened the purity of established bloodlines and could lead to unpredictable consequences for future generations. Meanwhile, the human government was fielding questions from other species about humanity's intentions regarding interspecies relationships. Some civilizations worried that humans might be attempting to spread their genetics throughout the galaxy as a form of soft conquest. Marcus and Zara found themselves at the center of a debate that extended far beyond their personal relationship. They had become symbols of either dangerous genetic experimentation or hopeful evolution, depending on one's perspective. The pressure intensified when representatives from both the Velthari High Council and the Human Colonial Administration arrived at the research station demanding access to all data related to the pregnancy. "This information has implications for species security," declared Councillor Thane Velmorix, the Velthari representative. "We cannot allow uncontrolled genetic experimentation to proceed without proper oversight." Admiral Janet Harrison, speaking for the humans, was equally firm. "We need to understand the full implications of this development before it goes any further. There are protocols for this kind of research." Dr. Elizabeth Reeves, the station's director, found herself mediating between competing interests while trying to protect her researchers. "The pregnancy is a natural occurrence, not an experiment," she insisted. "Dr. Velthani and Dr. Chen have every right to pursue their relationship and their research without external interference." The situation came to a head when both governments threatened to withdraw their personnel from the research station if their demands for complete data access were not met. The research team realized they needed to take decisive action to protect their work and Zara's pregnancy. Dr. Kethril surprised everyone by taking the lead in organizing their response. Despite being Velthari herself, she spoke passionately about the importance of scientific independence. "For centuries, both our species have allowed fear to limit our potential," she declared during an impromptu press conference that was broadcast throughout the galaxy. What we are witnessing here represents hope for the future, not a threat to be contained. Her words resonated with scientists across multiple species who had grown frustrated with political interference in their research. Within days, a coalition of research institutions from 15 different worlds had issued a joint statement supporting the team's work and demanding that the pregnancy be allowed to proceed without external interference. The turning point came when the Zephyrian Empire, known throughout the galaxy for their wisdom and neutrality, offered to provide sanctuary for the research team. The Zephyrians had themselves overcome reproductive challenges through innovative scientific approaches, and they understood the significance of what Marcus and Zara had achieved. "We extend an invitation to conduct your research within Zephyrian space," announced Ambassador Lyrix during a formal diplomatic session. "Your work represents the kind of breakthrough that benefits all intelligent species." Faced with the prospect of losing access to groundbreaking research that could benefit their own populations, both the Velthari and human governments backed down from their hardline positions. A compromise was reached, allowing the research to continue under international oversight, with all findings to be shared openly with the galactic scientific community. As Zara approached her due date, the anticipation was extraordinary. Medical teams from multiple species stood ready to assist with what would be the first recorded human Velthari birth. Advanced monitoring systems tracked every aspect of the baby's development in real time. The labor, when it began, proceeded more smoothly than anyone had dared hope. Zara's Velthari physiology, enhanced by her hybrid pregnancy, made the birth process easier than typical for either species. Marcus remained by her side throughout, providing the emotional support that had proven so crucial to their success. When their daughter was born, the delivery room fell silent in awe. The baby was perfect, combining the best features of both species in ways no one had imagined possible. She had her mother's large, expressive eyes, but in a striking blue-violet color that was unique to her. Her skin had the soft luminescence of Velthari heritage, but with the warm undertones of human genetics. "She's beautiful," Marcus whispered, tears streaming down his face as he held his daughter for the first time. "She's perfect," Zara agreed, her usual Velthari composure completely abandoned as she looked at their child with wonder and love. The baby, whom they named Lyra after the constellation where they first worked together, displayed immediate signs of the enhanced capabilities that prenatal scans had predicted. Her responses to stimuli were quicker and more complex than typical newborns of either species. She seemed to instinctively understand both Velthari harmonic communication and human verbal patterns. In the days following Lyra's birth, the research station became a pilgrimage site for scientists from across the galaxy. The implications of her existence extended far beyond reproduction science. She represented proof that the barriers between species were not as absolute as previously believed. Dr. Park conducted the first comprehensive analysis of Lyra's genetics and found results that revolutionized understanding of evolutionary potential. "She's not just a hybrid," Dr. Park explained. "She's something entirely new. Her genetic structure suggests adaptability that exceeds either parent species." The long-term studies that followed confirmed what everyone had hoped. Lyra grew rapidly, displaying intelligence that combined Velthari analytical capabilities with human creativity and adaptability. She learned both spoken language and harmonic communication simultaneously, becoming fully bilingual in both forms of expression before her first birthday. More importantly, her existence had opened floodgates of possibility throughout the galaxy. Other cross-species couples, inspired by Marcus and Zara's success, began forming relationships and families. The rigid genetic isolation that had characterized galactic civilization for millennia began to break down. Within 5 years, hybrid births became common enough that new medical protocols were developed to support them. The genetic diversity that resulted led to breakthrough innovations in medicine, technology, and social organization that benefited every member species of the galactic community. Marcus and Zara continued their research, now focused on understanding the mechanisms that made their success possible. They discovered that human reproductive adaptability, combined with the emotional connection that had developed between them, had created optimal conditions for genetic compatibility that transcended normal species barriers. Humans, Zara explained in their landmark paper published in the Galactic Journal of Evolutionary Biology, possess reproductive systems that are remarkably flexible and responsive to environmental factors, including emotional and psychological conditions. This adaptability, previously seen as inefficient, actually represents a form of universal compatibility that could revolutionize our understanding of genetic diversity. Their daughter, Lyra, grew up to become a bridge between worlds, speaking fluent Velthari harmonics and human languages, understanding both the analytical precision of her mother's people and the creative spontaneity of her father's species. She represented the future of galactic civilization, not separate species competing for resources, but integrated communities working together to solve common challenges. Years later, as Marcus and Zara watched Lyra play with friends from 6 different species in the station's recreational area, they reflected on how far they had come from that first day when Zara had stared at her medical scanner in disbelief. "Do you ever wonder what would have happened if we had listened to our governments and terminated the pregnancy?" Zara asked. Marcus smiled, watching their daughter effortlessly switch between Velthari harmonic patterns and human speech as she coordinated a game that included children from species that had previously had no common ground. "I think the galaxy would be a much lonelier place," he replied. "But more than that, I think we would have missed out on proof that differences aren't obstacles to overcome. They're opportunities to become something better than we ever imagined possible." Their story had become legend throughout the galaxy, proving that sometimes the most significant breakthroughs came not from careful planning or advanced technology, but from the simple willingness to see past artificial barriers and embrace the unknown possibilities that connection could create. The little Velthari woman who had once been shocked by an impossible pregnancy had become the mother of a new age, where the boundaries between species served not as walls, but as bridges to infinite potential. And the human whose straightforward approach to science had seemed so different from galactic norms had proven that sometimes the simplest solutions were the most profound. In the end, their love story had become the galaxy's story, a tale of how 2 different approaches to life could combine to create something unprecedented, beautiful, and full of hope for the future. Explained during one of their team meetings. Your species evolved on a world with constantly changing conditions, so your biology is designed to make reproduction work regardless of circumstances. And Velthari genetics are incredibly sophisticated, added Dr. Kethrel. Once conception occurs, our cellular systems can optimize development in ways that most species cannot. As Zara entered her 2nd trimester, the baby's development continued to exceed all expectations. The hybrid vigor was obvious in every scan, with the fetus showing signs of enhanced immune system function, optimized neural development, and robust physical growth. More importantly, Zara was thriving. The pregnancy had none of the complications that Velthari medical science had predicted would be inevitable given her medical history. In fact, she had never felt healthier. "It's as if carrying this baby has optimized my entire system," she told Marcus one evening as they watched the sunset through the viewing port in their shared quarters. "My energy levels are higher than they've been in years." "Maybe that's exactly what happened," Marcus replied, wrapping his arms around her from behind. "Maybe our baby isn't just adapting to us, but helping us adapt to each other." The implications of that statement would prove more significant than either of them realized as their child continued to develop and their research continued to challenge everything the galaxy thought it knew about reproduction, compatibility, and the future of interspecies relationships. On their first attempt, something that should have been absolutely impossible given her medical history and the complexities of cross-species reproduction, she ran the tests again, certain there must be an error. The results were identical. Zara sank into her chair, her mind racing. Everything they had theorized about reproductive compatibility, about the importance of emotional connection and environmental adaptation, had just been proven in the most personal way possible. When Marcus arrived at the lab that morning, he found Zara sitting motionless at her workstation, staring at a medical display with an expression of complete shock. "Zara? Are you okay? You look like you've seen a ghost." She turned to look at him, her violet eyes wide with amazement and uncertainty. "Marcus, we need to talk. Our research has just become much more personal than either of us expected."